So delta Q minus delta W is du. That is the statement. And integrating it, we get Q12 is equal to E2 minus E1 or U2 minus E1 plus W12. So this is the first corollary which says that internal energy of the system is a property of the system. And the second one is conservation of energy. If you apply it to isolated system, because Q12 is 0, W12 is 0, E2 minus E1 equal to 0, so E1 equal to E2, the total energy of the universe remain constant, or isolated system remain constant. So no energy transfers. When there is no energy transfer at all, how can the energy can be changed? The total energy always remain constant for a system. And the third one is PMM1 is not possible. That is, nothing can produce work, positive work continuously without taking anything in. Okay, so that is PMM1. So we have seen through an example. And there is all our flow processes we have discussed about. There is irreversible non-flow process. I think this we can do it later. Okay, irreversible non-flow process, one of the example we have seen, that is unrestricted expansion or free expansion. Okay, what do we mean by this? If I have a box with two chambers, one chamber with a gas at high pressure and another chamber with vacuum, and both are separated by a thin diaphragm. And if this diaphragm breaks, so there will be sudden expansion. It is sudden, not slow. So this is not a quasi-static process or a reversible process. So this gas occupies the whole volume. Initially, the volume is only this chamber, which has the working substance. Now working substance all occupies the whole volume. So volume changes. And initially I have high pressure in the system. Now the system changed its boundary, right? The whole thing is system now, and the pressure also gets reduced. So there is a change in the pressure and there is a change in the volume. But if you see the first law equation, delta Q is equal to du plus delta W, we know that delta Q is 0. It is completely insulated, no heat transfer. And delta W is 0. It is not doing any work transfer on the surroundings. So du is 0. Du 0 means T1 equal to T2. So here, the internal energy is constant. Sometimes this is also called as iso-internal energy process. Iso-internal energy process. Okay, though the expansion causes fall in temperature, actually when there is an expansion, there should be drop in temperature. But what happens is, due to friction of fluid hitting the wall, it converts the kinetic energy into heat energy, increasing the temperature to the original temperature. So that's why the temperature remains constant. So that's also sometimes people get confused. When there is an expansion taking place, naturally temperature decrease, how the temperature remains constant. So because of the friction, there is a rise in the temperature, and finally temperature remains constant and internal energy remains constant. And this is a constant internal energy process. And sometimes people may ask, it is constant temperature also, why not this is isothermal process? No, that is different and this is different. A free expansion differs from isothermal expansion because isothermal expansion involves work transfer. Here there is no work transfer at all. So that is the way it differs. And U is constant in spite of change in the pressure and temperature, which proves that U is a function of temperature only. U is a function of temperature only. This is another corollary from the free expansion process. And this is irreversible and cannot be a solid line in a PV diagram. If you want to draw this, I know initial state, I know final state, but I cannot draw a line. I don't know in which way it is going from state 1 to state 2. Somehow you can draw some dotted line joining 1 and 2, but which way you draw it is left to you. So W12 is not equal to integral PdV for this process because it is not a quasi-static process. So this is very important about the free expansion process. So it is irreversible non-flow process. And summary of all the formulae of the closed system. In the last class, we have derived the equations for W12, Q12, and U2 minus U1, H2 minus H1. I have written on different slides the results, and all of them compiled together. So here, isochoric V1 equal to V2, for which heat transfer is 0, and change in And this change in internal energy is always CV into T2 minus T1. Okay, in all the processes. When T1 equal to T2, it becomes 0. So for the isochoric, isobaric, isothermal, and adiabatic, polytropic, and free expansion process. Okay, so I have written all of them here, compiled together. And here Q12 from the first law equation, this is the sum of W12 and U2 minus U1. If you add these two, you will get this. Okay, and all these expressions you are familiar with. Okay, these things we have seen in the last class. Yeah, irreversibilities and reversible and irreversible processes. We have seen that if when a process is taking place, if it can be reversed without leaving a trace on the surroundings, it is reversible. Otherwise, it is not reversible. So all natural processes are irreversible, but still we assume some of the processes as reversible to make it easy for calculations and analysis. And I told you another comparison with quasi-static and reversible. All reversible processes are quasi-static processes, and both are very slow processes. But some of the reversible processes, some of the quasi-static processes may not be reversible. Okay, this is very important to understand the difference between quasi-static and reversible processes. And you can see some examples here through figures. And if there is a slow process, you can see here the water level gradually changing. And when the gates are moved and taken like this. So it is expansion, gradually it is changed. The pressure varies from top to bottom in this way because as depth increases, the pressure increases. But when it is compressed, again, if I take it slowly backwards, and again, you will get back the original system. And there is no disturbance at all, slow process if it takes. So it is a reversible process. But suppose if I move it very fast here, you can see it comes like this, and you will get the variation in this way. And suddenly, if it is compressed this way, we get like this. And you can see that because of the friction, fluid friction here, you will not get back to the same original state when it comes to the first state. So it is an irreversible process whenever it is taking place faster. And again, it is mainly because fluid friction and solid friction. And so we have seen irreversibilities are due to various things like friction, unrestrained expansion, mixing of two fluids, heat transfer across finite temperature difference, electric resistance, inelastic deformation of solids, and chemical reactions. And these irreversibilities again classified into internally reversible and externally reversible. Internal reversibilities are within the boundary. External reversibilities between the system and the surroundings. So like friction, inertia, and all are internal reversibilities. And heat transfer due to finite temperature difference is external reversibility. And another thing also we have seen, internal reversibilities are also called as mechanical reversibilities. These inertia, friction, and all. And external reversibilities is because of thermal temperature difference between the system and the surroundings. And chemical irreversibility is combustion, like chemical reaction. So we can see that when all these criteria are satisfied, then only a process will be reversible. No friction, no inertia, no sudden expansion, no heat transfer with finite temperature difference, infinitely slow, no combustion, ideal working. So as I told, if the temperature difference is very less, like 0.00001, like that, totally reversible will get. Okay, efficiency, I was talking desired output by required input. What is that we are getting and what is that we are spending? Okay, the difference is that efficiency of water heater, we get some heat by spending some electric energy. So we see how much heat is, how much energy I'm spending, how much heat energy I'm getting. So the ratio of them will give the efficiency. So the efficiency for various types of heating, it is given here. And so irreversibility always results in loss because friction and all. And so when I have an expansion process, which gives me useful work, I will not get that useful work as an ideal one. So we get somewhat less. So that's why asymptotic efficiency of expansion or a turbine or a heat engine, it is actual work by ideal work, because actual work is less. But when we are compressing, I am spending work on that. So compression process, which is having negative work. So I have to supply more work to compress the same thing. So isentropic efficiency of a pump or a compressor is ideal work by actual work. So actual work is more than ideal work. I am spending more than what is ideally needed. So heating value, I was talking about if heating value is the calorific value. So combustion efficiency is the input is the heating value of the fuel. Output is how much heat I am getting. Suppose I have a boiler, I am burning a fuel having some calorific value. So I expect this much of heating heat, but I may get only less than that. So that is combustion efficiency. Okay, the same thing. And the efficiency of space heating systems of residential and commercial buildings is usually expressed in terms of annual fuel utilization efficiency, AFUE, which accounts for the combustion equipment efficiency as well as other losses such as heat losses to unheated areas and startup and cool down losses. All these losses I have to consider, and the total final efficiency I will get. So the AFUE of most new heating systems is about 85%. Although AFUE of some old heating systems are 60%. Because if I try to reduce all these losses, right, losses to unheated areas, losses to startup, losses for cooling down and all. So the AFUE of some new high efficiency furnaces exceeds 96%, but the high cost of such furnaces cannot be justified. Whenever I try to reduce the losses, I have to spend some more for improving the equipment. Sometimes that may be more than what economy I get by saving it. So I have to see economical analysis I have to make, and to increase the efficiency, by increasing the efficiency, how much advantage I get, and to improve the efficiency, how much I have to spend, so whether it is worth or not. Such high efficiencies are achieved by reclaiming most of the heat in the flue gases. So now usually for all the engines, you know that we lose some heat. If I can recover it and use it for some purpose, and condensing the water vapor and discharging the flue gases at temperatures as low as 38 degrees centigrade. Suppose the gas turbine and IC engine are there, so the exhaust temperatures will be very high. If I can reduce it and use it for some other purpose, so see 200 degrees centigrade, if I can reduce it to 38 degrees centigrade, I can improve the efficiency a lot. But how to recover them, you have to spend some more money for that. So if you see the overall efficiency of a power plant, so in the power plant, so what I actually spend, I spend fuel. So fuel has some calorific value. So when I burn it, I lose some heat in the combustion. So combustion efficiency is there. And then I got heat energy, which is given to the cycle or the power plant, and I get some work. So the useful work by the heat supplied to that is thermal efficiency of the cycle. And this work, whatever I get, I give it to the generator. I am getting shaft work that is given to the generator. Generator produces some electric power. So whatever the generator efficiency is, the electric power that I am getting by the mechanical power that I am giving it, that is generator efficiency. So the product of all the efficiencies together, because the final output is electrical output, and the initial input is the fuel calorific value. Okay, so that is it. W net by electric is higher heating value into mechanical mass of the fuel. So this is the input and this is the output. The efficiency is the ratio multiplication of all the ratios together. So generator is a device that converts mechanical energy to electrical energy, and generator efficiency is ratio of electrical power output to the mechanical power output. And thermal efficiency of power plant is the ratio of net shaft work output to the turbine to the heat input to the working fluid. And so the overall efficiency is about 25 to 30% for gasoline automotive engines, means petrol engines like Cotter car and all, and 35 to 40% for diesel engines. Diesel engines are a bit more efficient, and usually the trucks, buses, and such heavy engines have diesel engines. which is having 35 to 40%, and up to 60% for large power plants, like combined cycle power plants and huge power plants, which we have. We can go up to 60%. So there, because it is a huge one, I can have space, and I can spend some money also for that, because 1% efficiency saving gives lot of advantage, because so many public and so much 500 megawatt power plant like that if you have, so you will have lot of saving by increasing 1% efficiency. So you can spend some money for improving the efficiency. Okay, lighting efficiency. If I have efficacy, this is efficacy, right? The amount of light output in lumens per watt of electricity consumed. Okay, and so for different types of lights and different types of efficacy, their efficacy is somewhat like efficiency only. How much lighting we are getting to the per 1 watt of power consumption. Okay, that is I am spending. So candle 0.3 lumens per watt, and kerosene lamp 1 to 2 lumens per watt. So, and incandescent lamp, ordinary 6 to 20, halogen 15 to 35, and fluorescent compact lamp 40 to 87, tube 60 to 120, and the high intensity discharge like mercury vapor lamps, metal halide lamps, like that. So the efficacy is very high. And solid state LED, you can see 20 to 160. That's why people are going for LED, so LED and all. And you can see one example here. So a 15 watt compact fluorescent lamp provides as much light as the 60 watt incandescent lamp. Now these two are there, they give the same amount of lumens or lighting, but this consumes 50 watts of energy, and this consumes 60 watts of power. Okay, why we struggle? Not only money, actually now we are worried about the environment, and using energy efficient applications, we conserve energy. When we conserve energy, when we consume less energy, government need not produce so much of power. So for every watt of power, lot of pollution is going into the atmosphere. So it helps the environment by reducing the amount of pollutants emitted to the atmosphere during the combustion of fuel. Okay, so normally what are the pollutants that we get by burning the fossil fuels? So mainly carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, that is we call it as NOx, NO, NO2, NO3, N2O5, like that. And the hydrocarbons, which are not burnt, unburnt hydrocarbon, because whatever fuels we are using, they are called hydrocarbons, methane, ethane, propane, butane, like that. And carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide. Each is having its own harm on the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide causes global warming, and nitrogen oxides and hydrocarbons, they cause smog. Smog means smoke fog. And carbon monoxide is toxic, which enters into the atmosphere and causes ill health. And sulfur dioxide, it causes acid rain. Okay, these are the harms that they produce. So the better efficient things you produce, the power needed by the common public can be reduced, and so the power plants can save the environment. So efficiency is energy utilized by energy supplied to the appliance. So if 5 kilowatt is supplied by the heater to it, and 2 kilowatt is lost, and 3 kilowatt only is utilized to heat this content. So energy utilized is only 3 kilowatts, but supplied is 5 kilowatts, and it is only 60% efficiency. So if I can reduce the heat loss, I can improve the efficiency. So I can reduce the electric power that is consumed, and on the power plant, the load is reduced. So energy cost of cooking a casserole with different appliances. In cooking, using different appliances, so what is the cooking time it takes, how much energy you use, and what is the cost of energy. Like that, we can usually, nowadays, every power plant or every industry, they have to do what is called as energy audit. So wherever they are consuming power, they check and how much power is consumed there and what is the way to reduce the power consumption, and they do the audit, and finally they try to conserve the energy or save the energy. Every industry is now forced to do that. Okay, efficiencies of mechanical and electrical devices. Okay, mechanical efficiency is mechanical energy output by mechanical energy input. So whatever input minus output is losses, mechanical losses. So this can be written as 1 minus mechanical losses by mechanical input. So that is the efficiency. And pump efficiency, turbine efficiency, already we have discussed. And pump efficiency, mechanical energy increase of the fluid, mechanical energy is the input. So actually whatever electrical work I am giving, that is converted to shaft work, and that shaft work is given to the pump, and it is increasing the pressure energy of the fluid, and how much power is given to the fluid, and how much power I am consuming to run the pump. Similarly, turbine produces some energy. So this is the output from the turbine, and what is given actually high energy fluid turns the turbine. So what is the energy in the fluid? That is the input, and what is the power I am getting in the shaft? That is the output. So output by input, that is turbine efficiency. So this is just an example. You can just go through it. And the motor and generator. So motor, what is the input to it? Electrical power is the input, and mechanical power is the output, the shaft rotating. So mechanical power output by electrical power input. And generator, it is reverse. So I give the shaft power, it is producing electrical power. So electrical power output by mechanical power input. And suppose pump motor together. So pump is run by the motor. So pump is run by the motor. So what is the input? What the input I am giving as electrical power to the motor, and the motor runs the pump, and pump gives the power to the fluid. Okay, so mechanical energy to the fluid is the output, and the electrical power that is given to the motor is the input. Similarly, turbine generator combination. So turbine rotates the generator. So turbine, I am getting fluid, high energy fluid, that is the input, and finally from the generator I get electrical output. So turbine generator combination, we will have output W electrical output, and input is the input to the turbine by the fluid, mechanical energy of the fluid. Okay, this is if turbine efficiency is 0.75, generator efficiency is 0.97. The combined efficiency is the product of these two, 0.975 into 0.97, 0.73. This is the overall efficiency of the combination. I think it is repeated. Okay, this is about the theory behind first law applied to closed systems for different processes. Any doubts? If you have any doubt, we will discuss. Otherwise, I will go to the problems. Okay, so what is the input to the candle? So energy is chemical energy. That is whatever calorific value is there for the wick and the wax. So because they both are burning out, so the input is that, and the light that is coming out is the lumens. In lumens, we will find out the output. Okay, Joule's experiment can be explained in two ways. Okay, the first one is to complete the cycle. I take a system with some fluid, and I am stirring it using rising of height. So we rotate a paddle wheel in the fluid so that work is transferred to the fluid. So its internal energy increases. Internal energy increases because no heat transfer, work is given to it, its internal energy increases, so its temperature increases. So then I take this fluid box into the water, and so I bring it to the original temperature. So it is losing some heat to the water around it. So if I can find out how much heat is transferred to the water, like mCp dt, so mass of water I know, Cp of water I know, what is the temperature rise of the water if I can find out, what is the heat transfer I can find out. So I know the work transfer, that is the height and mgh, right? So because that weight is raised to turn the wheel, so I can find out what is the work transfer, what is the heat transfer, and then I can relate it. So it is found by through many experiments that they are directly proportional to each other. And if it is SI system units he is using, exactly the work transfer is equal to heat transfer because both are in joules. So that is the joules experiment. Any doubt? Is it clear? Anything else? See, if you ask a doubt in the group, it will be useful for all the other people also. Okay, then we'll go to the problems. Okay, one thing I will tell in general, actually I wanted to write it, but I didn't do it. So when you are given a problem for first law applied to closed systems, first you will be given the initial state of the system. So initial state of the system means you will be given at least two properties of the system. So P1, P1, suppose. So if it is given, then I can find out the specific volume. PV equal to RT is there. So, and again, you have to be careful. P capital V means MRT. P small v is RT. Okay. So if you ask, so if pressure and temperature is given, you can find out specific volume. And sometimes you will be given the volume also, total volume. Then you have to use PV equal to MRT, and you can find out the mass of the working fluid. Okay, so that is the way I can find out P, V, T, and M. Everything will be given for the initial state. So then there can be one process, two process, or three process, or there may be a cycle. Number of processes will be there. So from state 1 to state 2, you will be given what process it is, and one variable also you will be given. Okay, we will see the problems. Okay, you will be knowing the process and also one property at the state 2. And using that, I have to calculate all the remaining things. So once one property is known, the second property is obtained through the process relations. So constant pressure or constant volume or constant temperature or isothermal, adiabatic, polytropic, whatever it is. Using that property, process relation, I can find out the second property. Once I know two properties, again the complete system I will be knowing. Okay, so that is the way I have to go. And once you know the second state, I can find out the change in internal energy, work done, heat transfer, everything. And you have to be careful about the units and also signs. Okay, so if work is positive or negative, heat is positive or negative. So based on that, you can understand, because sometimes they will ask whether work is done by the system or work is done on the system or heat is given to the system or like that. Or they will be given some 3 to 4 processes. What is the overall heat transfer? What is the overall work transfer? Like that, you can find out. So sum of all the work transfers or some of the heat transfers, you have to find out. And suppose if the cycle is closed, then the total change in any property is 0. And the total work transfer should be equal to the total heat transfer. Okay, so these are the things we have to remember. Okay, we will see the problems. Okay, one problem we will see which covers all the processes. Okay, and for every problem, you have to draw the PV diagram. Okay, so that is very important. Okay, my PV diagram is horrible. I could not draw all the processes here. Okay, and but you can, I will explain it. And heat, we have to find out heat transfer for different laws of expansion. So the initial conditions of air in a cylinder fitted with a movable piston are 10 bar, 0.04 meter cube, and 400 Kelvin. Pressure, total volume, and temperature are given. Calculate the work, change in internal energy, and heat absorbed are rejected for each of the following methods of expansion. There is only one process, but for different processes, what will be the values? It gives some insight also. So what happens like that? So we already know a isobar is horizontal, isocore is vertical, and as n increases, the slope of the line increases, right? So you can see n equal to 0 horizontal, n equal to 1, okay? And here there are different processes. So this is n equal to 1, and actually this is a linear one actually. And isothermal process, adiabatic, as n equal to 1, n equal to 1.4, n equal to 2, like that number of processes are there. So only thing, one or two insights is, so as my slope of it increases, the pressure decrease, the pressure at the exit decrease. Here it is a end volume, that is after the process, the volume is same for all the processes. Okay, if this volume is fixed, then different processes are drawn here like that. So as n increases, the P2 decreases. And work transfer means area under the curve. Area under the curve decreases as the steepness increases. And so delta U, because P2 decreases, P2 also decrease. And the delta U change in internal energy decrease, because work decrease and change in internal energy decrease, heat transfer also decrease. So these things take place. We will see from the numerical values. Okay. So first isobaric expansion to a final volume of 0.2 meter cube. Okay, this is horizontal. And you can find out that the area under this curve will be maximum. That is W12 will be maximum. Okay, before doing that, I have to find out, because all PV and T are given, I can find out the mass. Mass is equal to PV by RT, because PV equal to MRT. And I have to be careful about the units. The pressure must be in kilopascals, and volume must be in meter cube. Temperature must be in Kelvin. Sometimes temperature may be given in degree centigrade, but you have to always convert it to Kelvin. That is important. And whenever this is in kilopascals, I have to substitute R in kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay. If this is in pascals, then it is 287. If it is in kilopascal, it should be 0.287. So this is to be, these things we have to be careful. So remember always 0.287 is the R, and CP 1.005, CV 0.718, and the pressure should be in kilopascals. And the units of CP, CV, and R is kilojoule per kg Kelvin. Okay. So by substituting these values, I can find out the mass. Because mass is needed, because when I want to find out the heat transfer or change in internal energy, I have to multiply by mass. Okay. So if it is per unit mass, if it is asked, no problem. But how much heat is transferred means I want the total heat transfer. Okay. So then W12, because it is isobaric, P into V2 minus V1, P is 1000, and V2, it is expanded up to 0.2, so 0.2 minus 0.04, 160 kilojoules. And I want U2 minus U1, which is MCV into T2 minus T1. But for that, I need T2. So how to get T2? I know V2 0.2 data is given, and because it is isobaric, P2 is equal to P1. I know P2. So P2 and V2 are known. I have to find out T2. So that is obtained from the gas equation of state. P1 V1 by T1 equal to P2 V2 by T2. So only T2 is the unknown. I can find out. This is 2000 Kelvin. Right? This T2 will be very high. And so U2 minus U1 is MCV into T2 minus T1. M is 0.3484 calculated here. And CV is 0.718. So that is air, the CV of air. And T2 is 2000 and T1 is 400. I get this 400.2 kilojoules. This is the change in internal energy. Now from first law, Q12 is equal to change in internal energy plus W12. Add these two, I will get 560.2. This can be directly obtained also, because for a constant pressure process, Q12 is also mCp into T2 minus T1. So m, you know it, Cp 1.005 and T2 minus T1, if I substitute, you will get the same value. So this is a check. Okay. And so that is the first one for isobaric process I calculated. Then coming to isothermal expansion. So isothermal means n equal to 1. N equal to 1. This is a rectangular hyperbola I will get. And to a final volume, same volume. Okay. And because this is isothermal, T1 equal to T2. So I know T2, I know V2 also. And I can find out P2. And because this is isothermal, T1, V1 equal to P2, V2. So I can find out P2. So I got P2, V2, and T2 also. Now I can find out the energy transfers. So W12, P1, V1 log V2 by V1, and P1 is 1000, V1 is 0.04, V2 by V1 is this one, you can get this. And U2 minus U1, MCV T2 minus T1, but we know that T1 is equal to T2, so this is 0. So because change in internal energy is 0, heat transfer is equal to work transfer, which is the same, 64.38 kilojoules. So you can see here, the work done, here W12 is 160 kilojoules, and there is a large decrease, 64.38 kilojoules, because it is coming like this, the area under the curve is reduced. Okay, so that is about it. And then polytropic expansion with index n equal to 1.2 to a same volume, 0.2 meter cube. So polytropic expansion means P1 V1 to the power of n equal to P2 V2 power n. I know V2, so I can calculate P2. So P2 is equal to P1 into V1 by V2 to the power of n from this. So I know all these values, I get P2. And so once I get P2, T2 also can be obtained. P1 V1 by T1 equal to P2 V2 by T2. I can find out what is T2. So once I get P2 V2 T2, I can get all the energy transfers. W12 is for polytropic P1 V1 minus P2 V2 by n minus 1. I know all the values, substitute and get it. And U2 minus U1, same formula, MCV into G2 minus T1. Only values are different. So you can see that this internal energy, it is change in internal energy becoming negative. And Q12, this is sum of these two. I have to keep the sign. Minus 27.52 plus 55 gives this. So you can see from the comparative to the previous one, for isothermal, n equal to 1, and the work is 64.38. And now n equal to 1.2, it is still reduced, 55 kilojoules. And heat transfer, and this is also very much reduced. It goes to negative. Okay, then adiabatic expansion, where n equal to 1.4 is there. Again, to the same volume. So I have to, similar relations here. P1, V1 for gamma you put here, and P2 you calculate. Again, using P1, V1 by T1 equal to P2, V2 by T2. T2 you calculate. So you got the second state completely. Now you get W12, U2 minus U1, same similarly. And the only thing is Q12 is 0. So because Q12 is 0, W12 you calculate, and U2 minus U1 you calculate, automatically you will get the same values here. Okay, this is 47.5. So it is still less than 55 here. And then coming to polytropic expansion with index 2. So still higher index. So your final value of this. Again, use the same values, and you can find out W12 is 32 kilojoules. So here 47, and still it is reduced to 30. And then change in internal energy is still negative, some more negative, and the Q also still reduced. All values are getting reduced. And suppose I go to expansion according to some general formula, E is equal to A by V square minus B by V, where A is given 0.01, B is given, not given like this. Actually, the law is given. Sometimes you will be given A and B, but here the end states are given 100 kilopascals and 0.2 meter cube. This pressure also is given. So what I have to do is I have to use that relation, because it has to satisfy state 1 and also state 2. So P1 equal to A by V1 square minus B by V1. I know P1 and V1, I get one equation. And I know P2 and V2, 100 kilopascal and 0.2 meter cube, and I get another equation. Solve these two equations, I will get A equal to 0.01 and B equal to minus 15. Okay, why I want this? Because now W12 integral PdV. So P is to be expressed as a function of V here. So I have to substitute A by V square minus B by V here, and then I have to integrate. So 1 by V square integration is minus 1 by V, and 1 by V integration is log V. And substituting the limits from V1 to V2, minus A into 1 by V1, 1 by V2 minus 1 by V1, and minus B log V2 by V1. Okay, so because these A, B values are needed here, I know V1 and V2 values, I substitute and I get W12 here. Only for calculating W12, I need this. And the T2, because I know P2, V2, P1, V1, and also T1, I can calculate T2. And the change in internal energy, same formula. And once I get W12 and U2 minus U1, I can find out Q12. So I get this. And there is another also, if the expansion is according to straight line law, a pressure of both pressure and volume are given. So I know the initial state and final state, both points are known. So because of that, I can find out the area under this. This is the area of trapezium. And so the area of trapezium P1, P2, V1, V2 is P1 plus P2 by 2 into V2 minus V1. Okay, so this length and average of these two. Okay, that is the area of trapezium, which gives 88 kilojoules. And again, I know P1, V1 and P2, V2, so I can find out T2 using T1, V1 by T1 is equal to P2, V2 by T2. And again, change in internal energy and some of these work done, and this is 88 kilojoules. Okay, so minus 50 plus 88, it gives 38 kilojoules. Okay, so the observation, as n increases, T2 decrease, delta U decrease, W12 decrease, Q12 decrease, and P2 decrease. Okay, so this is the observation you can make. Any doubts in this problem? Are there any doubts in this problem? Shall I proceed? So we will see some more problems. So thank you, Zayan, Satish. Okay, what is it? Right. So straight line equation is polytropic with n equal to 1. No. Polytropic with n equal to 1 is different, and straight line relation means n equal to 1 is not straight line relation. N equal to 1 is P1, V1 equal to P2, V2, which is isothermal relation. N equal to minus 1. N equal to minus 1 means P1, V1, P1 by V1 equal to P2 by V2. Is it a straight line equation? So I am given both P1, V1 and P2, V2, just I have to join like a straight line, right? Okay. So we'll go to another problem. So this is, this a system contains 0.15 meter cube of air at 4 bar and 423 Kelvin. Again, all the three conditions are given. You can find out the mass flow also. And a reversible adiabatic expansion takes place till the pressure falls to 1 bar. Okay, so somewhere I have to take P1, which is at 4 bar. So draw a PV diagram. First of all, you have to get somewhere the initial state 1, and so the pressure falls to. So another line I have to give here, which is at 1 bar, and so there is an adiabatic expansion. So there is an adiabatic expansion, PV power gamma equal to constant up to 1 bar. The air is then heated at constant pressure. So heated means expansion taking place, so it goes to the right. So I told you I have to be given the process and one property. So in the 1 to 2, it is given adiabatic expansion. Adiabatic process is given and the pressure is given 1 bar. So one property is given and the process is given. And for 2 to 3, the air is then heated at constant pressure. Process is given till enthalpy increases by 67 kilojoules. Some property 67 kilojoules is given. And determine the total work done. Okay, 1 to 2 and 2 to 3 only. And if these processes are replaced by a single polytropic process, okay, only one, giving the same work between the same end states, find its index of expansion n. So with what index of expansion it is to be expanded to get the same work. Okay, so this area should be same as this area. Okay. So what should be the index of expansion? That's what it is asked. So we will find out W12, W23, and using the W23, I have to find out what is the value of n here. Okay. So data V1, P1, and T1 are given, and H3 minus H2. Okay, this is given as 67 kilojoules. H3 minus H2, 67 kilojoules, and P2 equal to 1 bar. And the Cp is given as 1.009. So if it is not given, I have to write 1.005, but it is given as 1.009. Okay. Now, initially we find out mass. Okay, mass is found out by P1, V1 by RT1 because all I know. And at the second stage 2, so because I know the process, that is the PV power gamma, so I can find out what is V2. So because why I want this, I want to find out the work done. Work done is P1, V1 minus P2, V2 by gamma minus 1. So I have to get V2. V2 is obtained from the process relation. So using the process relation, I get V2, and then I can find out W12. And the value of T2 can be obtained from, again, the equation of state, because once you know T2 and V2, I can find out T2 using this. Okay, so I got this. And to get this, because I want the state here, so V3 is equal to V2 T3 by T2, because this is a constant pressure process. So V2 by T2 equal to V3 by T3, so I can find out V3. T3 is already known because P is constant. Okay. And H3 minus H2, which is MCP into T3 minus T2, I can find out T3 from this relation, because H3 minus H2 is given 67 kilojoules, and M is known, Cp is known, the unknown is T3. I can find out what is T3, sorry, T2. Okay, so this is substituted here. Sorry, T3 only. This is T3 is obtained here. This T3 is substituted here, and I get what is V3. So I can get all the values at state 3. Okay, P3 is same pressure, and V3 is obtained from the process relation, and T3 is obtained from the given enthalpy. So I get these values. So the W23 for the constant pressure process isobaric is P2 into V3 minus V2. So I can find out what is this. So W, the whole for the both processes together is W12 plus W23. So that is 68.14. So this is the total work. I have to get the same work with this polytropic expansion, for which I have to get N. And we know that for a polytropic process, P1 V1 minus P3 V3 by N minus 1 is the work. And this work is same as this work. So 68.14. So only unknown is N here. So I have to solve for N. Okay, so N is obtained like that. Sorry. So N is obtained like that. Okay, this is the way we do the problem. So similarly, you can have problems with different processes. Whatever it is, the procedure is similar. Okay, another problem just fast you can see. A mass of air is initially at 260 degrees centigrade, 700 kilopascals, and occupying 0.028 meter cube. Again, P1, V1, T1 is given, for which mass can be calculated. And the air is expanded at constant pressure, okay, 1 to 2. And again, the process is given, till it reaches 0.084 meter cube. I am given the volume. So I can find out all the things for this state, and all the energy transfers I can calculate. And a polytropic process with n equal to 1.5 is then carried out. So from 2 to 3, it is a polytropic process, followed by an isothermal process to complete the cycle. So here I have isothermal process, here polytropic process. These two must be intersected at this point. So that is the other data. Its property is not given here straight, but another process is given. So that is the additional data. And find the heat received and rejected in the cycle and efficiency of the cycle. So I have to know the heat transfers and work transfers, and I have to find out what is the efficiency. And so P1, V1, T1 is given, and V2 is given, and I can find out the mass flow from the first state. And for the process 1, 2, because it is constant pressure, V1 by T1 equal to V2 by T2, I can find out T2. And Q1, 2, here, because it's constant pressure, mCp into T2 minus T1, I can calculate what is the heat transfer here. This is positive, means here there is heat input is there. And process 2, 3. So when I go from process 2, 3, because this is a polytropic process with 1.5, so P2 by P3 is T2 by T3 to the power of n by n minus 1. So I can find out the ratio of 27. So this 27, because P2 by P3, I know only ratio, because I cannot find out, there is another property is not given. So I get only the ratio. And this P2 is P1. So this is P1 by P3. And this is also equal to V3 by V1. Okay. Because P1, V1 equal to P3, V3. For this isothermal process, P1, V1 equal to P3, V3. So based on that, it is V3 by V1. So Q23 is U3 minus U2 plus W23. So mCv into T3 minus T2 plus Mr into T2 minus T3 by n minus 1. This is heat transfer is minus 19.59 for this process 2. And process 3.1, Q31 is W31. Why? Because internal energy is 0 for this isothermal process. And which both should be equal to mRT1 log V1 by V3. So this V1 by V3 I get from here, which is 1 by 27. So that I substitute here. So heat rejected in the cycle, and that is Q12. Heat received. Okay. So this is positive. Q12 is positive. Q23 is negative, and Q31 is negative. So heat given is, heat received is 137. Heat lost is these two. So I can find out what is the net heat transfer. So 137.13 minus 84.12. So that is 53.01. And so efficiency is work output by heat input. I didn't calculate the work output. So because the net work transfer is equal to net heat transfer. So the net heat transfer is also equal to net work transfer, which is 53.01. So that is work output by heat input. So what is the positive heat that is given? That is 137.13. The other is heat losses, right? So input is the one which is heat input is 137.13. So that is written here and get efficiency. So here one thing you have to observe is I didn't calculate W separately for everything. Okay, to note the net heat transfer, because I know that net heat transfer is equal to net work transfer. And so net work heat transfer is equal to heat input minus heat lost. So heat in minus heat out is the network transfer, heat transfer, and also network transfer. So that is the way I can find out the efficiency. I think with this we can stop. Any doubts in solving the problem? You have to go through all the books, different worked out examples, and also exercises you have to try. So this covers all the processes and some cycle also. Anything? Okay, finally the time is over. We'll go to the story again. Okay, it's a nice small story. A little girl ran to her bedroom and pulled out her piggy bank from a secret drawer in her closet. She broke the piggy bank and took the change and counted it carefully, 3 times even. The total has to be exactly perfect, as there shouldn't be any chance for mistake here. She carefully placed the coins in a jar and twisted on the cap. She took the jar full of coins and slipped out of the back door. She made her way 6 blocks to a drugstore. She waited patiently for the pharmacist to give her some attention, but he was too busy attending other customers at that moment. She tried several times to get his attention, but she wasn't successful. Finally, she took a quarter from her jar and banged on the glass counter, which was finally able to get her some attention. And what do you want, little miss? The pharmacist asked the tiny girl in the front of his counter. My brother is really, really sick. I want to buy a miracle. The girl answered. I beg your pardon, said the pharmacist. My brother is really sick, and my daddy says only a miracle can cure him. So I want to get a miracle for him. How much does a miracle cost? I'm sorry, but I can't help you. We don't sell miracles here, little girl, the pharmacist said, softening a little. Listen, I have the money to pay for it. If it isn't enough, I will get more. Just tell me how much it costs. Next to the little girl was a tall, well-dressed man. He stooped down and asked the little girl, what kind of a miracle does your brother need? I don't know, the girl replied with her eyes filled with tears. I just know he is very sick and has something bad growing inside his head. Doctor says he needs an operation, but daddy can't pay for it. So we need a miracle to save him now. I can't use all my money to save my brother. How much do you have? Asked the man. $1.12. It's all the money I have now, but I can get some more if needed, the girl answered barely audibly. Well, what a coincidence, smiled the man. $1.12. That is the exact price of a miracle for a little brother. He took her money in one hand and with the other hand he softly holded the hand of the girl and said, take me to your brother. I want to meet your parents and see your brother. Let's see if I have the miracle your brother needs. This man was a reputed neurosurgeon. He was just the right person needed to save the little boy's life. The operation was completed without any charges, and it wasn't long until the little girl's brother was home again and doing well. Mommy and Daddy were happily talking about the chain of events that had led them to his happy place. That surgery, her mummy whispered, it was a real miracle. I wonder how much it would have cost. The little girl smiled in herself as she knew exactly how much a miracle costs. $1.12. That's the faith of a little child. A miracle is not the suspension of natural law, but the operation of a higher law. This is a true story. Nice. Thank you. Hope you have enjoyed. Okay, stop the video recording. So see you again tomorrow.